Hey everybody, good morning. Good morning. It's about 8:17 in the morning here. It is the 26th of January 2024, and today is also Friday. Friday. So that means it's Play It Small Friday. It's a day, if you do day trading, where you do not put a lot of risk on the table, but there is potential for decent reward. We've got, options expiring today. So generally speaking, it's the day where we might get a little bit of volatility, and I want to talk just a little bit about that. But before we get into all of this, of course, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, and this is always just my opinion on the market. I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again, and just make sure that whenever you look into making any kind of investment decisions, that you do research and you understand the risks involved with any kind of trading that you do. Okay, let's go ahead and move on into the chart. I'm here looking at the S&P 500. I'm looking at ES futures specifically, and what I want to look at here in particular is a potential shift to what my primary count was. I'm not going to go too far out here. D. Worrell, thanks for joining us here this morning. Looking at the chart here, I do want to take a look at what we could be seeing today. So we've got some news. This is such a news-driven market. It's actually really frustrating, but this is the life that we're living in right now. So here in about 11 minutes, we're going to be getting some numbers, and these numbers are going to move the market. And with that, what I'm expecting, based on what I'm looking at here on the chart right now, looking at our indicators as a primary example here, short term, meaning today. The hourly is really poised to go up, right? We have a positioning where we are favoring some upside, okay? And this would be for today, obviously. And now, the other thing that I do want to point out is, we were pretty bullish when we got down here. We bought a lot of equity. I don't want to say we went all in on equity. We always diversify whenever we make any equity positions. So we bought like 8 or 9 different equity positions. They all did really, really well. And we kind of rotated a little bit. Even yesterday, we rotated into different stocks. And, we're looking to see how those are going to perform over the next few trading days. But after hitting this, I just want to point out, we came down here to the 618. And the 618, you guys all know, that is just a perfect setup for me. I personally love to get a 618 pullback. But if I can get a pullback to the 618, while at the same time we're getting a buy signal on the WaveMaster, these are all perfect signs for just, the stars aligning a little bit. You're always looking for confluence. And I always preach that whenever I'm doing any kind of trading, I'm looking basically at 3 things in a very specific order. I'm looking for market geometry, right? I'm looking at geometry, so I'm looking for channels. I'm looking for wedges, and I'll talk about wedges here in a minute. And I'm also, again, the next number 2 is I'm looking for fibs. I'm looking for a fib pullback, right? So I'm looking for a pullback to a 618. I'm looking for, an extension up here to negative 236. So we exited some equities up here, and we even took a little bit of a modest short position here on the S&P 500. And yes, we have moved higher. I'm not completely invalid on what my original thesis is, but it's a hedge against all of my long positions that I'm currently in. And I do happen to be pretty heavy long right now on not just the stock market, but in crypto as well. So with that, I'm looking at fibs, and then I'm looking for Elliott wave, right? So I'm looking to confirm my bias, right? Was this an ABC, or was this a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Was this a 5-wave move up followed by a 3-wave move down? One way or another, I saw a nice and clear 3-wave move down, right? An ABC. So we get this move down, we get a pullback to the 618, and we get the signal on the indicator, right? So you get your indicator bias, you get your fib bias, and then we have a nice Elliott wave bias here as well. So that lended for a strong bias that we should be buying. We should be buying and we should be getting long. And that seems to be what has worked out really, really well so far. Now, if this is a 1, 2, I just want to point out the target is going to be about 49.77, right? It's really going to be here 49.70, but really 49.90. Somewhere in this range is where it is likely to terminate. Now, is that going to happen today? I mean, probably not. Probably not. If we take a look at the actual index, and I guess I shouldn't say the actual index, but close enough to it, right? Again, we were talking about getting short here. I'm going to actually remove this because what we were looking at, and I'm not going to get too far into this, but what we were looking at was, in a case where we would see a pretty steep pullback to the mid 4600s. This has an arrow going all the way down to 4600. I now no longer believe that that's going to be the case, if that's the case at all. This looks like, a good potential upside move here. And the target, so let's put the 1618. If we're looking at the cash index, we're looking at a move to about 49.50. That would make a whole lot of sense. Right now, we're at 48.94, so maybe a 50-point move is in the cards today. We will just have to wait and see what that means. And again, a 50-point move on the S&P 500 equates to about a 5-point move on SPY, if you are a SPY trader, right? So just keep that in mind. That's really what I'm looking at. But let me get back to the ES chart and just talk just for just a real quick moment about what I'm looking at here. Let me get on to like a 15-minute time frame. Okay, so let's just look at this here. What does this look like? And it's probably already pretty clear to a lot of you, right? We've got very good signs that we've got a little bit of contraction going on here, right? So if you're familiar with Heliwave, this looks to me like an A and then a B, C, D. Maybe we come down here for the E. Maybe it happens really, really fast before we see that move to the upside. And again, we already talked about the upside target. We're talking about on the ES chart, we're really talking about a move up here to about 49.70 to 49.80. On the cash index, we're looking for a move roughly to about 49.50. Is that going to happen today? We're just going to have to wait and see. The 15-minute chart does show that early on in the trading day, we're probably going to see a little bit of a pullback. Now, if you are trading on a wedge, right, and let's say this is an A and a B, a C, a D, and then we go down for a wave E. E doesn't have to come down here. E can stop right here, right? E can stop wherever it wants, right? So, are we going to see a move all the way back down here? I mean, maybe. If the market makers really wanted to mess with us, that's what they would do. One thing I will note is yesterday we were paying very close attention to the way that the market closed. Okay, and the way that the market closed yesterday, I still have the screenshot up here. Let me see if I can get that in here so that we can take a look at it. Okay, so let me just put this here so that we can just take a look. Let me move up the transparency. So Dow Jones ended the day green. S&P 500 ended the day green. NASDAQ green. Russell 2000 green. And the volatility index was also green. Everything was all green at the end of the day. And that usually means that we're going to get a significant amount of volatility within the next 1 to 2 trading days. And most of the time, that move is down. If all of those things are aligned green, most of the time that means down. But I've seen many, many times where people are paying close attention to this, that it's gone in the opposite direction. And it's very possible that that is what's going to happen today. Again, on the 15-minute, looks like maybe a little bit of downside before we see a rocket move to the upside. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens here in about 4 minutes. But for now, let's go ahead and just move on over and let's take a look at our good friend Bitcoin. Okay, so we've been talking about Bitcoin, and there is a little bit of relative strength in Bitcoin right now. Let me go to a 1-hour chart. With a 24/7 market, things do tend to be a little volatile, right? Now, again, from up here at the top at about 49,000, right? This looks like our top where the ETF was launched. It pretty much spot on. As soon as ETFs were launched, that was really the time to sell Bitcoin. Now, you can see here that I sold. I did recently buy a little bit more, and it was right here below 40,000. And I'm really only looking to take that, as you can see up here, only up to maybe 43 to 44,000. I don't think we're going to get much more than that. before we see more downside, right? So what I'm looking at is a potential move down here to this 382, which is going to be at about 35,750, right? So again, a move up here and then a rollover and to see a little bit more downside. If we go to higher time frames, what you'll notice is that there is going to be some downward pressure. So from this, it looks to me like an ABC. So let's go ahead and put this on here. So from up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, 1, 2, 3, B, and then we've got a nice little, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here to a C. And even here you can see a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A move down here to finish an ABC correction. And then now, naturally, what we're looking at is, an A, B, C to the upside, right? So I'm not going to try and project too much here, but it does look like we're likely seeing a little bit of a bottom short term, right? And I think that was confirmed by this consolidation below where I had my resistance zone. Now we're inside of my resistance zone. I think we're going to poke up above it, which is going to be basically in line with like all of these different price action clusters that we've got above 42,000 all the way up here to about 44,000. So I think we're likely going to find the resistance necessary to see a bigger sell-off. And I use bigger in air quotes because I'm really not expecting huge move to the downside. Really, I'm only expecting a move down here to about 35,750. So what would alts potentially do? Now, there's one that I want to take a look at here, and let me just go ahead and pull it up. All right, so this guy, let me put him up on maybe a daily time frame. So from the bottom, right, it's pretty clear, and I guess I'm not talking about the bottom where it was listed, but the bottom right here, right? So I can count a nice little 1, 2, and then basically having a 3 right here and a correction 4, and then we go for a wave 5. And I could get into the subdivision of this, right? But really what I'm looking at is on the daily, things have pretty much completely reset. The last time that the daily wave was this low, and it's actually lower than it was back here. So again, what we're seeing is some hidden bullish divergence. We've got a low here, a higher low here. On the indicator, we've got a low here, and we've got a little bit of a lower low over here. So if I pull this up here, you can see if I put a line right there, you can see that we're lower than that, right? But the price obviously is much higher. So there is signs that there is some hidden bullish divergence on the indicator. And if this is the case, what we're really probably going to be looking for, let me just go ahead and put this here and measure this out. Okay, we didn't get to the 382, but let's take a look at the 236. We got to the 236. We tried to push down a little bit lower. It's possible it comes down here to 52 cents, but the upside target's going to be above $1, right? We're at 63 cents right now. I'd be looking for a move up here to about $1.22. $1.22, $1.25. If it does extend a little bit more, let's look at the negative 382 instead of the negative 236. So let's go ahead and put the negative 382 on there. So that's going to be at $1.50. So somewhere in this area, if you decide, right, that you want to buy here, you should absolutely be looking to sell in this area. So you should be scaling out when we get to that negative 236. You should be completely out if this goes up to $1.50. And I say if because that's kind of an extended target to go all the way up to $1.50. But I would say $1.22, $1.23, that's probably where this guy is going to land. And again, if that's the case, once we get up here to this wave 5, we're probably going to see a pretty steep pullback that's going to correct the entire move. So if we get all the way up here, let's say we get just to that $1.22, $1.23 area, we're going to correct this entire move, which, what this is going to end up looking like, just for the record, seeing this move up here, and then you're going to be seeing a nice little A, B, C correction. It's probably going to come all the way back down here to about 50 cents, maybe a little bit lower. We'll have to wait and see where things land, but that's really what I'm kind of looking. Okay, so, we're looking at, savings. So some of these numbers are just now starting to come out. We're starting to see savings that are starting to dwindle a little bit. PCE core is right where it expected it, or right where the expectations were. PCE month over month, right where we expected it to be. Year over year is basically right at expectations. PCE core year over year is right below expectations. So let's just go ahead and take a look and see how the market is reacting to this, and let's see if we're going to get that move down here to wave E, and before we see a breakout to the upside. What this does look like, it does look like we are going to see a move to the upside probably later today, as we wait for this to come down into this wave E, wherever this lands. I tend to believe it's probably going to stop here at about 4,900 before we do start to see, at least a little bit of a move to the upside. I don't know if it's going to be a 40, 50 point day today, but absolutely you should be very careful when you are taking any positions. So yeah, all in all, things came right near expectations. So this isn't anything that should be a surprise to any of the institutional investors. So all in all, I think this is going to be all right. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. We've talked about Bitcoin, we've talked about the S&P. I gave a little bit of a thought on maybe what some altcoins are going to do based on what Bitcoin is doing. Probably we'll see a little bit of upside once Bitcoin gets to that 44,000 area. Be very skeptical of what it's going to do in the short term. Long term, super bullish, but let's just wait and see how things go. All right, if this video helped you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share, and last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.